What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 4 of the Streets Won't Forget podcast. I'm Dodds, and I'm here with...
Louis, how are we, guys?
Yeah, we want to just thank you guys for all the support we've been getting so far. It's been amazing on,
Big love, man.
all platforms. We might have hurt some people. We might have, we big people up as well. So, yeah, we're just here to talk about football, really. And we're just glad that you guys are liking it so far. So, yeah, thank you guys. Louis, what are you saying though? How are you finding the World Cup so far? How are you rating it? Has it been
Um,
are you into it now? Is the fever caught you? Yeah.
I'm into it, right? But it's weird. It's like obviously it's football on TV, so I'm going to be into it. But at the same time, with the Euros and with the World Cup before, I think it was because it was in the summer. But I don't know, man. I haven't like normally I'd get like Vindaloo on, I'd get It's Coming Home on, I'd be listening to that like all the time, and I'd be
Yeah.
getting into it, and I'd be feeling the passion. But like the England game's later today, and I'm more focused on getting this done, going to the gym, playing some of my weekend league games on FIFA, and
Yeah.
and like then the game's just like a side point. Whereas normally I'd be like proper up for
That's
it.
all you're
So
thinking about. Yeah.
yeah, it's a weird feeling. I think it's because of the time of year and the weather and stuff like that. But I
Yeah.
don't know. It doesn't help as well. Like the games are pretty boring. A lot of them.
Mm.
They only start really picking up. Like it's very cagey when one team goes. It's 0-0 for a lot of the time, and then once one team goes 1-0 up, that's when it gets a little bit better.
Yeah.
Um, maybe it's the first game because people don't want to lose the first game.
Maybe. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, what about you? What are you saying about it? How are you finding it?
Yeah. I mean, when Qatar were playing Ecuador in the first game, I'll be honest, I didn't have much interest in watching it. I had it on, but like I was on my phone, I was doing other
Same.
stuff. Like I weren't really that into the game. I know there's a few
Mm.
a few tacticals on Twitter trying to do the Pep Guardiola thing on Ecuador. Like I don't know, I couldn't get myself that into it personally. But it's I think there's been decent games, man. Like even some of the nil-nils
Mm.
have been okay. But I mean, at the end of the day, tournament football, you want goals. But I'm with you on the whole like the fever thing. Like when
Mm.
the games come around, it's kind of like you just watch the game. But before the whole pre-match, you might play, as you said, some music, Vindaloo, whatever. But nah, no interest in none of that. I don't think other people really have that interest either so
No,
far.
yeah.
So obviously a World Cup, you're here for football, but you do want a bit of like atmosphere to go along with
Mm.
it as well.
I-
So
I'll I'll be honest as well. I think the media's kind of screwed it for me as well a little bit because like there's just been so much talk of things other than football.
mm,
It feels like talking about everything other than football. And um, yeah, there's stuff that Qatar have done in their past and in their present that maybe we don't agree with. But
mm,
who will be policing people on what their country should do? At the end of the day, um, yes, the politics and stuff needs to be spoke about, but at the same time, you know, I just want to watch the football. We never had this in Russia in 2018. Look what happened after Russia. No one spoke about at the time they'd annexed Crimea. So
yeah,
you know, it seems very hypocritical, and I think that's kind of put me off a little bit as well because, like, even with all the stuff before the Iran game about the armband and stuff like that,
mm,
that really overshadowed the football. And it just like normally I'm either like really nervous or I'm buzzing for the England game. They were just talking about that, and I just felt like I felt nothing. I didn't feel anything at
yeah,
all. Really empty. And then the game was on, and like I mean, I celebrated the first goal, but it wasn't like normally I'd go crazy at a World Cup goal. Like I remember the Tunisia goal and Harry Kane
yeah,
scored a couple of years ago. I went mental. Obviously, me and you were together for the Colombia game.
yeah,
The penalties were insane. But we were together for the Croatia game in the World Cup as well, and like we were proper into it and screaming. But with that Iran game, I don't know, man. It just felt like we scored, and then it was just like, oh, okay,
yeah. It did
lucky
feel
it was
like
this.
watching like a Nations League kind of game, to be fair.
Yeah.
And it was nice to see the goals and everything. But you're right. I don't know if that's because obviously the level of opposition. I'm not saying Iran a bad opposition. They're 20th, to be fair, but it's a
Mm.
game like by name you expect England to win. So when those goals go in, you're not like
Mm.
wow. But yeah, Germany game as well. They did their thing before. They did their covering the mouth, and
Yeah.
Japan massive upset there. But what everyone's talking about after the game is the Germany
Exactly.
stance, and completely takes away from it. I don't know what you do about it though, to be fair, because if people feel like they got rights to stand for, by all means do it. But
Of course.
with the Germany game, it's pretty peak for the players because like
Yeah.
they've just been it's just like, go out, do
They've,
that. And the players just
they've
like,
been,
okay, we'll do it.
yeah, they've been stitched up as well because there's like all of their politicians are boycotting, same as ours.
Mm.
And their media is making such a big deal of everything. And listen, with Germany, we all know the past they've had as a country. I completely understand why they lean a certain way and why they feel so strongly about the human rights and stuff like that. I completely get that, and that's completely within their right to do that. But it's kind of made football like a side point for the players, and they know that they're going to be ostracized by their media if they don't make a stance. So then they feel like they have to do something, and then that just takes everything away from the football.
Yeah.
Obviously, you touched on the Japan upset. Japan were second half were amazing. The subs they made were great, but it was overshadowed by sort of the political side. Whereas a game that wasn't overshadowed by the political side, which I really enjoyed, was the Argentina Saudi game.
Yeah.
And Saudi Arabia and Argentina made it so it was completely all about the football, and that's what people spoke about afterwards.
Yeah.
And both, yeah, Saudi and Japan were both amazing. I think I was really impressed with Saudi Arabia, the high line they played, the bravery to do that against players like Messi and Martinez. Martinez is such a good outlet; he gets in behind so well, and I think they obviously done their homework. That I read up on Twitter afterwards. Their coach was, I think he won AFCON with. Don't quote me on who he won it with. I know he won it once with Gambia.
Zambia.
Zambia, sorry, my bad. Yeah, he won it with Zambia and
Ivory
Cameroon
Coast.
or Ivory Coast. Okay.
Yeah. He's like the top manager in African football. Herve Renard, I think, isn't.
Yeah. So obviously he's done his homework. He understands the international game, and he obviously studied Argentina and seen the way they play, and they played against them perfectly. I mean, they were obviously fortunate to not be 2 or 3 down in the first half. But as we say all the time to each other, you make your own luck.
Yeah,
you make your own luck.
You make your own luck, and you got to capitalize when you're on top. And unfortunately, Argentina, they tried. They scored their offside goal. There's one goal in particular, I think. People are saying that should have been. I think it was Martinez's chip. People saying that was actually a clean goal. But second half they just didn't. I don't know. They just got shell shocked because Saudi came out, scored 2, I think, in about 20 minutes. Argentina after that still had chances. I think what's his name, Martinez at centre back had he had that one. He didn't quite know, like,
it
just
sort of
came
hit
to him.
Yeah, it sort of hit him rather than him hitting the ball.
Yeah. But with that performance, I mean, to be fair, both of us in our predictions, I think we did have Argentina to win it. Has that? Have you changed your mind on Argentina in terms of how much you rate them by that performance? Not necessarily having them as winners, but you haven't changed your mind.
No, I haven't. I'll be completely honest. I think the first game, you can't tell a lot from the first game in isolation. Obviously, if we look at it 2 or 3 games down the line and they still struggled, then yes. But the first game in isolation, obviously, I mentioned it on Twitter and I mentioned it in the group chat. I remember when Spain lost to Switzerland in 2010. Obviously, Switzerland are on paper a lot more of a competent side than Argentina. But that was a Spain team that had won the Euros. They were dominating everybody in Europe. I think they hadn't lost for so long as well. And then they got shell shocked by by Switzerland on the first game, and it kind of gave them a bit of a kick up the backside. And in a way, I think it's better for Argentina that they've got that performance out of the way now, rather than sort of whitewashing Saudi 3-0, getting confident and then getting into the round of 16 and losing to someone they shouldn't have lost to. So I think really what it's done now is it's given Lionel Scaloni his team talks for the next 2 games now. He's basically said, you guys can't afford to even draw these games. You've got to go out there. You've got to win. And there's a lot of talk on Twitter, a lot of leaked lineups saying they're going to change the formation. They're going to pack the midfield a little bit more and change to a 4-3-3 and bring. I think they're making 3 changes. I think they're bringing Enzo Fernandez in. They're bringing Martinez in. So that for me on paper would balance the side a lot more than that 4-4-2 that they play.
Yeah,
Um,
probably.
because the 4-4-2 they play normally that has Lo Celso in left midfield, so it kind of becomes like a free midfield.
Mm.
Whereas the other day they had Papu Gomez, who is an out and out forward basically. So the balance of that was all wrong. So in terms of does it change my opinion on them? No, I still think they're one of the strongest sides. I still think they're one of the 4 teams to beat.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I think personally, it's changed my opinion a little bit because I was going off Argentina because of their record. I always thought I looked at their team and thought, I don't know, it's not the most in prime team, you know. I don't think
I get that.
that like their best player, like Messi, you know, I'm not trying to discredit Messi, he's their best player. He's not in prime. Whereas, you know,
Mm,
you take like a Kane or someone who's more in his prime for England and Spurs, and then not Di Maria, you know, he's seen his better days. I feel like, you know, they've got players like Martinez who didn't play, who I do really rate, and
mm,
I guess Christian Romero, who's still quite unproven at this level, even though they've
mm.
won the Copa America. I also think as well, it's something to be said about how South American teams don't really play European teams that often, although they did play
They don't.
Italy. Yeah, they did play Italy
Mm,
recently, and they did win 3-0. So, and also, I said it to you, I don't think this is why they lost, but Argentina's team is not, it's not the most, I don't know, physically gifted team ever.
no, it's not.
So, yeah, they've got runners, but
Mm,
they're not big. So I can
yeah,
see, you know, if they came up against, I don't think they can in terms of predictions if England come first or Argentina come first. But if England played Argentina, I think England could win the physical battle. But in terms of the actual footballing battle, I'm not sure. So
mm,
we'll see. It's giving me similar vibes to how not Argentina the last World Cup, I'd say Spain last Euros, although Spain did get far. Spain
mm,
at the start, they were getting stifled by Sweden, they got stifled by Poland,
mm.
then had a big performance, I think last game beat 5-0 against, I can't remember the team. So I can see that. I don't know, I can see them in a
Mm.
lot of games controlling the games. But for whatever reason, just not being able to convert offside
Yeah,
goals, whatever. So we'll see. We'll see what that Mexico game's like. I weren't that impressed by Mexico. Watch
neither or Poland.
that was a poor game, man. And
Yeah, I agree. That was a really bad game.
yeah, there has been some 4-0
That,
4-0 nils. Yeah,
yeah,
so
it's also worth saying as well. I don't think Poland will play the same way as what Saudi Arabia did,
mm,
and I don't think Mexico will play the same way as Saudi Arabia did either.
yeah,
Um, so I feel like against Poland, they're gonna give Argentina the ball. They're not gonna play that high line. They're gonna sit way deeper.
mm,
And as we've seen over the years, that you can't give Messi space in and around the box because he'll punish you. Albeit he probably should have scored one already against Saudi in the first half.
mm,
But if you give Messi, even I know Di Maria's past his prime, but if you give players like Di Maria, you give players like Martinez, they've got Alvarez on the bench. If you give these guys time and space, they will punish you. So I think as well, Saudi Arabia, they were good, but again, I don't think they're going to play that same way against Poland or Mexico either.
yeah,
So it's not. I think if Argentina would have beat Saudi Arabia and then lost to Poland, I think that could have been a bit like, oh, okay, that's worrying because Poland could then come above them, or Mexico could then come above them. But I think it's a case of they've got to just get the wins now against Poland and Mexico, and I think they will. But there's definitely a fragility to that team, as there has been with other teams that we'll get onto as well.
yeah, exactly. I mean, let's talk about some teams we've been very impressed by. I'll start. Spain. I had
Yeah,
a good feeling. Well, let's say if you know if you're talking about England's chance, I had a bad feeling about Spain going to this tournament
me too.
because yeah, I just knew Spain teams. Um, like one thing for sure is these guys will keep the ball, and at international level, not many teams can keep the ball anywhere near as well as Spain. I can't think of the next best team in terms of who can
No.
keep the ball as well as Spain. And you know, if you do that for 90 minutes, like it's long. Like you can get countered, yeah, but I mean, more often than not, as we see with the top teams that can keep the ball, like Man City, or Barcelona in the past. Like they ended up just suffocating the teams and will score. What obviously the Spain team doesn't have, which Man City or Barcelona at club level have, is a player like Messi, a player like Kevin De Bruyne, in my opinion, who,
Mm.
you know, like given the chance will absolutely hurt you. I think Spain still have problems with like, I don't know. I think in the big games, their problem will be, let's say, like X Factor, who's that guy who's gonna get the ball and just do something
Hmm.
absolutely magic. But
Yeah,
wow, 7-0 for a first game, I think that is unbelievable. They're the team I'm most impressed by so far. I
yeah.
mean,
I would
yeah.
say that as well. I have been very, very impressed by them.
Mm.
And I was watching the game with my dad, and he was making me laugh, man. To be honest, right, it came from kind of like a very English perspective, and I get what he's trying to say, but he made
Mm.
some very good points. He was basically saying Costa Rica didn't even try and challenge them.
Yeah,
First of all, second of all, Costa Rica are the oldest team at the tournament. So if I do think they would dominate us in terms of possession, but it's a lot easier to play through a team like Costa Rica who don't have the legs. Whereas with us, if we can be aggressive, if we can press with our front three, and if we can be physical in the midfield with guys like Bryce, with guys like Phillips potentially, Mount's got good physical qualities as well. Bellingham's got some decent physical qualities. Um, if we can do that, if we can stay in the game and then from set pieces get a couple of chances or something like that, I do think we could harm them. And I'm actually really interested to see how they play against Germany as well,
yeah,
because all the pressure is now on Germany. Spain don't really have to win that game, but they're going to want to knock Germany out. They're going to want to get them out of the tournament, because you don't want to give a team like Germany a chance in the knockout stages, because no matter how they performed in the group stage, they're always going to be a threat in knockout stages. So they're going to want to get rid of Germany. So I'm interested to see how they fare against a team with a lot more, firstly, technical quality, but also as well speed and power,
yeah,
because Germany have that in abundance. And I'll be really interested to see how that Spanish defense, which on paper to me, I know Carvajal had his illness. So to me, Azpilicueta, Rodri, Laporte, and Alba, that as a
yeah.
back four, that
It's not the best.
it's not the best. And Rodri's not a centre back.
Mm.
Laporte to me, very good with his feet, but we've seen it at times with City when players get at him, he's a bit of a fairy.
Yeah,
Um, Azpilicueta, I think has been Chelsea's worst player this season when he's played, and that's
yeah.
hard to do because they've been cheeks. And Jordi Alba, I'll be honest, I don't watch a lot of Barcelona, but I've heard from Barcelona fans that he's kind of past his best as well. So great performance, typical Spanish performance. I was getting tired just watching it,
Yeah,
let alone playing against it.
yeah,
And that's the thing I worry about if we play them, is the concentration levels, especially since we've got a young team.
yeah.
Um, but I'm not worried in terms of the physical aspect against playing against them, because I do think we can. I do think we'll get chances against them. It's just whether we can stop them scoring at the other end.
I agree. I just worry that, if England played them, it'll be similar to obviously Italy and Croatia games gone
Yeah.
by, where, just I feel like the players, I was saying in the group chat, I feel like the players just get a bit demoralized when it's,
Mm,
it's like 20-minute spell, they ain't really touched the ball. We saw Jordan Henderson against Croatia that time, was getting the
mm,
ball, panicking. But I don't know. I would like to think England got a bit more composure because of their experience now
mm,
in those games. And I think, I don't know, for those games, might see maybe a bit of a different lineup. Might not necessarily see Bellingham, Rice, Bellingham, Rice, and
no.
Mount. Yeah, like he did against Iran, because I don't know, that might get a bit exposed by that midfield of Spain.
Mm.
But in terms of today's game, to be fair, what are you how are you feeling? You confident? You
Um,
yeah,
as as the hours tick by, I'm getting more and more confident, and as I'm seeing some of these leaks from the USA on social media, um, the way I look at it is very simple, right? And football isn't as simple as this, but we have better players. We've got more experience at this stage. We've got more players who can harm USA than USA have who can harm us. If we're on it, if we're 100% concentrated, this should be a fairly straightforward game for us. And I'm not saying that to disrespect the USA, because I think they have some good players. They've got some very athletic players. I think in the first half against Wales, I was very, very impressed. But second half, they ran out of steam. And that Wales side, for me, is poor.
I agree.
I thought it was really, really poor. I think Bale was anonymous. I thought Dan James was just awful. Brennan Johnson off the bench. Their best player for me was Kiefer Moore, and that's because he's big. It wasn't because he's a good footballer, it's because he's a lump.
Yeah.
And USA still managed to fumble the bag. So for me, I think it's just about staying on the ball. Don't let them have the ball, because if they get on a transition, they can harm us on a transition. I don't really fancy guys like Pulisic, Musa, Aronson, Weah running at Stones and Maguire. That's not really what I want to see. But I think if we get a hold of the ball and we're brave, like we were against Iran, we'll get chances, and also as well from set pieces. I mean,
Maguire.
He's great. Maguire, he's great for England. We've got such good delivery with Trippier and Shaw. So I mean that's something as well. And I don't fancy Walker Zimmerman, which is the most American sounding name ever. And Tim Ream, I don't fancy them as international defenders. So I think I'm quietly confident, but you know how I am with England. I'm very reserved. So I do. It wouldn't surprise me if we drew or lost as well. But I expect us to win, and I think we will win. What about you?
Yeah, I'm quite confident, to be honest. I mean, like you said in one of the first podcasts, it is going to be an emotional game. We've already been seeing, a couple memes on TikTok, whatever, from Americans about England. But it's going to be
about our teeth, bro. Like that's relevant to football.
Honestly, man, they'll talk about anything but the football. But when it comes to the football, I don't know. USA, they were good in the first half against Wales. Pulisic in particular was quite good. But I do think this England team looked quite switched on against Iran. I was really impressed by, in particular, the first half. Even before the goals went in, I thought England were moving the ball with intent. I thought, they were really trying to get forward every time. Saka, Sterling, very good in the wings. I think they justified their selections, in particular, I guess Sterling, because obviously Saka was. I mean, I think everyone was like, Saka. Most people like Saka should start.
Such a good player, man.
Yeah,
such a good player.
So good. I mean, he's got confidence now, which is great. And Kane's fit. That was obviously, that's a good thing. I mean, people have been suggesting could have been good if Kane wasn't fit, but you need your best player. You need not even just for what he brings, just for like the presence he brings as well. Your captain,
well. I think. Sorry to interrupt you there. I think we've got some great sort of technical, speedy players around him, but I think we've seen it on several occasions when England are in a hole. Even if Kane's not playing the greatest, he'll pull us out of that hole, or just say it's 0-0 and we get a penalty in the 84th minute. I don't trust anyone in that side other than Kane to bang that penalty under pressure.
Yeah.
And he brings others into the game. I think we've got different options in Wilson and Rashford where we could probably be a bit more dynamic. But with Kane, he offers that level of, he's going to have two centre-backs on him, two players on him at all times. So he can drag one of them centre-backs out. And then that gives space for your Sakas, for your Sterlings, for your Rashfords off the bench, for your Grealishes, for your Bellinghams making late runs into, Bellingham's making late runs into the box, for your Mounts making late runs into the box. So I think for me, it goes without saying, but he's our most important player. So people suggesting him not being fit is a good thing is ludicrous, to be honest.
When he's not on the pitch, it's a different. I remember the Scotland game. Came off the pitch and Rashford came up front. It wasn't it. Not Rashford himself. It was just more like the system's so built around Kane. You need him all the styles. Time. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. Overall, I'm quite confident for this game. But obviously with England, despite it being a much better England now, you can never, ever... I remember 2010, England versus USA, and England got off to a flyer. Gerrard scored. And then obviously we all know what happened there with Dempsey and Rob Green. And then the rest of the game, shell-shocked. So
I did that in
You know,
six-a-side last night, bro.
is it? As Cellini would say, it's the history of the England. So
Yeah.
hopefully not tonight, bro. But
Nah, I can't see it.
looking to just a couple other games that look kind of juicy. France Denmark coming up next.
Mhm.
You got any? I mean, any thoughts on that game? How you did you watch? I don't know if you caught the France or Denmark so far, but
I caught, yeah, I watched the France game. I was paying close attention to it, obviously, because of the stick we got from some of our Aussie
yeah,
viewers on TikTok.
yeah,
Jackson Irvine almost scored.
I know it's
I
crazy.
would have celebrated that like England scored if he scored. Um,
Literally.
but I
Who scored
mean,
for them again? Sorry.
um, Goodwin, I think his name was.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah,
Goodwin, I think.
I wasn't hearing any Australians talking about Goodwin, man. Goodwin's
No,
probably your best player.
I was hearing as a heuristic, but he wasn't even
Perisic
on the bench.
didn't
No, he
even
wasn't even
play.
on the pitch.
Didn't
Yeah,
even
he wasn't
play.
even on the pitch. Um, this is where we find out in the comments that he's got an injury or something.
Yeah,
But I think France looked very good. I think Australia are really poor, though. I mean, I'm going to get stick for it again in the comments, but I think they
mm,
were really poor. And when your best defender is a Stoke City defender, who are as mid-table as it gets in the Championship, you haven't really got a hope against Mbappe, Dembele, and Giroud, who was fantastic as well. I do think France are vulnerable with that system. I think Giroud was good, and Mbappe and Dembele in isolation are just ridiculous.
yeah.
You can't give them more than a second because they'll just turn you.
Mm,
But I think against the side with a bit more technical quality and who has a bit more nous about them, I think Denmark's a prime example. I think Denmark can shithouse a 1-0 or a draw or something like that.
yeah,
I do worry for the Denmark defense because that France attack looked scary. And Denmark were very, very average against Tunisia. So it's a tough game to call. I'm probably going to put it down as a 1-1 or a nil
yeah.
nil.
Fair.
Um, but again, it wouldn't surprise me if France made a statement and came out and won 2 or 3-0. But
Yeah.
I'm going to go with a draw.
I hear that because France, as good as they were against Australia, they were slow starters. I mean, Australia took the lead against a team like Denmark, who were probably even better. Probably keep their
Mm.
composure and ride the storm till halftime, probably at least.
Hmm.
Australia can do that, but like you said, the individual quality of Dembele and Mbappe, it's just like it's so rare, like in football, you ever find that. So if they're on it, as I said in one of the earlier pods, then it's I don't know. I think France do take that game. But I was very impressed by Giroud and Rabiot as well. I think
Rabiot was really good.
yeah, Rabiot's been having a good season apparently for Juve. Obviously, Ten Hag wanted him. Something to be said maybe about his talent ID being a
Mm-hmm.
good thing. But I think I was saying it to you in private with this France team with their injuries. You've got Benzema out, you've got Pogba out, Kante out. I do feel like it gives a chance for just a bit more of a balanced France team. You've got players like Rabiot and Tchouameni who are going to stick to their roles. Benzema likes to come deep a lot, whereas
Mm-hmm.
Giroud he comes a bit deep, but he's more of a focal point. The ball gets lumped to him, and he'll just get it, give it. He won't really do too much on the ball,
Relieve
and
a lot
that
of pressure.
exactly, and that free Mbappe and Dembele. So I don't know. I do like the France system at the moment. I think obviously their defense was fairly solid. I think Lucas Hernandez, unfortunate about his injury, so we'll see if Theo Hernandez, who's less defensive but much more better going forward.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of that game, again, like you, it's tough to call, but obviously I had France first. So I'm going to stick with France. I'm going to say France going to win that 2-1 and qualify for the knockout stages. And just quickly, I want to talk about one more game, maybe Uruguay coming up as well. Both teams played yesterday. What do you think of both teams?
Battle of mid.
Yeah,
Um, Portugal. Look, man, I don't want to look like I'm a Ronaldo hater, or anything like that. But I thought Portugal were really poor. I thought Ronaldo was really poor. I thought Felix in the first half was really poor. Bruno was anonymous in the first half as well. I think in the second half he had a really good game in the second half.
Yeah.
Felix sort of came into his own a little bit more. I think the change of Leao added a lot more. He added that dynamism and that quality in dribbling on the ball. Whereas I don't think I think Felix, Ronaldo, and Bruno, all three of them offer different things. I think Felix is good in combinations and he's good at them little touches and them little flicks, as we've seen for winning the penalty that Ronaldo won. I think Ronaldo in the box is still decent enough in the box, and Bruno will create. But I think with Leao, he's their only player who will stand people up 1v1, take people on 1v1, give the defender something to think about. Because I don't know, I think Ghana's aggression in the Portugal game let them down. I think it was fairly easy for them to defend against that Portugal team. Ronaldo just couldn't make it stick, and if Salisu doesn't dive into that challenge against Ronaldo, they probably could have got a 0-0 or snuck a 1-0. So I worry about Portugal in terms of their system and in terms of the styles that Fernando Santos uses. Because to me, I just think you've got the players there to be able to dominate games, but you still seem to be a team who prefers a weird game state where you're not really in control, but you're relying on the transitions, which to me is just crazy.
Yeah, I
What about
agree.
you?
Yeah, Portugal weren't impressed by. I mean, last week they beat Nigeria 4-0,
It looked
and
good.
yeah, they looked good. And I thought, okay, maybe I don't know, maybe I'm being a bit unfair on this team. Let's see how they do against Ghana. And yeah, obviously I was back in Ghana, and obviously we didn't play well, but it's a sign for me when the opposition is lesser and they're not playing well, and you still look poor as the favourites. And Portugal, I'm sorry, they look poor. I know there's going to be a lot of Ronaldo stands or Portugal stands who will be like, "No, I still won the game 3-2. Ronaldo scored a pen." Nah, I wasn't impressed. But yeah, I think it's a system thing and also personnel thing. Rafa Leao has to start the next game, definitely. He's probably the only real player I see in that Portugal team who's got that blend of pace and like 1v1 ability, but also
Yeah,
a bit of, as they call it on Twitter, La Porza. He can actually, take it, slow it
yeah,
down, and create. So in terms of them coming up against Uruguay, you're right. Battle of the mid. Uruguay as well weren't impressed. I think one thing Uruguay lack is a bit of that La Porza, man. A bit of that the player in the wing who can just take it, slow it down. I mean, they had a front three of I forgot Suarez, Nunez, and
yeah.
another.
Pelistri.
Yeah, and I think that I don't know too much about history, but I think they're all predominantly strikers, number nine. So I mean,
Mm,
Valverde was good for them. He hit the bar with a shot. I think I see that game being a close game, maybe Portugal winning it, but wasn't that impressed by upside. That's a funny group. I think that group there is we could be in for a shock because no team looks great in that group. So
no, I think out of all the teams, I've been most impressed with South Korea.
yeah.
They didn't have anything really going forward. I thought Son was their only threat, but even he was quite needy that game.
Mm.
Um, I think with Uruguay, Suarez, like, just forget. They need to forget the sentiment stuff. Cavani was a lot better when he came on than what Suarez was. I think with Suarez, obviously, you get the ball to him in the box, he's going to score, but you have to get the ball to him. I think Pelistri is an out and out winger, but he's not played a lot of football for United or even when he went on loan to Alaves. So it says a lot about the state of their team when they have to play him at on the right. They do have some good midfielders and some decent defenders. I was impressed with Godin. I thought he had a clinic performance. But I just think that Uruguay Portugal game. I mean, sometimes two teams who play crap football, sometimes that makes for a good game.
Yeah.
So it might be a better game. But I just think both them. I don't think either of them teams are going to do anything in this tournament from what I've seen.
Nah, neither have I. Uruguay particularly disappointed by because a lot of people had them as dark horses. But you know what? I think it's a thing where you actually go through their team and they're just lacking a lot of profiles. Um, got some strong players like obviously, yeah, I mentioned Valverde already,
Mhm.
Bentancur, and to be fair, Godin, you know, I saw him doing some nice long passes yesterday, but I don't know. It's like both teams just looked awkward yesterday in terms of just being progressive. And yeah, I think that would be yeah, tight game.
Mhm.
Um take it or leave it in terms of who you're picking your winner as. But South Korea, fair play to them. They looked a bit better. If they can get Sun free a bit more, um, get him in those positions where he's isolated one on one, because he's not the best dribbler, but he can beat a man still. And
Mhm.
he can get him behind, and when he gets him behind, he's one of the most deadly finishers there is. So
Yeah.
if they can get him in, hopefully not against Ghana, but against maybe Uruguay after that. Sorry, Portugal after that, then yeah, who knows? They might qualify as well. I can't call that group. But
Neither.
yeah, in terms of best points of the World Cup so far,
Mhm.
goals, performances, any come to mind? I mean,
Um, so I've got a couple of players in terms of the best performance. I thought Pedri was really good.
mm,
Bellingham was really good.
mm,
Saka was really good, and Richarlison in that second half. I mean, the two goals, especially the last one,
Jesus.
was sensational. He looks like a different player for Brazil than he does for Spurs. I was impressed with him when he was at Everton. I do think he is a dangerous player, and I think even when he isn't scoring, he kind of puts himself about and does the dirty work. So I was impressed with him. Pedri was really good. Obviously Bellingham, I mentioned Saka.
Yeah, I think Enner Valencia on the first day.
Yeah, and Valencia was good in the first day. I think Qatar were really poor, but yeah, he was good on the first day.
Yeah,
Casado and Hinsape as well for Ecuador were very good that day.
yeah,
Um,
I'm with that. To be fair,
Other than that, Saudi Arabia's goalkeeper was really good.
Saudi Arabia's keeper. Yeah, um, Ferran Torres got two. But
Hmm.
yeah, Pedri in particular, Pedri and Gavi, great goal.
Oh yeah, fantastic goal.
Great volley. And Richarlison yesterday, yeah, me and Tommy we want to see our boy Jesus play, so we were going at him in the group chat. But that second goal, bro, I've never seen him even do that for Everton or anything. Like when he when this guy plays for Brazil, it's just yeah, it's different, and he justified his selection. Just want to talk about that Brazil game though. I don't know, it was interesting for me. I caught the first half, not much the second half. I did see the goal, but
I was the other way around.
oh really? Yeah, you're at
Yeah,
football. But
yeah.
I don't know. Brazil, great team, and
Mm.
that's a good win by the way, beating Serbia 2-0.
Oh yeah,
Serbia are decent. But I think that lineup is a bit weird. I think that thing where it's Casemiro, lone
by
pivot
himself.
by himself, literally, and then he's got he's got Paqueta, who's a 10, in my opinion. I haven't watched him much at Leon, but I know from what I've heard, he's a 10 in front of
Mhm.
him. And then Neymar kind of in the centre forward or cam role.
Who is a forward?
He's a forward. I think he's better on the left. I think they've got a bit of like if there's going to be an issue for Brazil, I think it's the balance between. I think Neymar should be on the left because he's better when he cuts inside rather than when he starts on in the
Mm.
middle and starts to drift. There's
But
some
Vinny was really good though. Second half.
exactly that's the thing. Vinny looked really good, and look, don't drop Neymar, but
Mm.
I saw a couple of people saying that I don't know, don't drop him. If it was me, I'll probably put Neymar on the left, Vinny on the right, as awkward as that is, and Richardson up front because I feel that the balance is better that way. But then obviously Vinny is a better left winger. So,
Mm.
but it's still a good win from Brazil. I mean, were you impressed by Brazil?
I
Or
was
what you
impressed
saw?
second half from what I seen. First half I didn't watch, but I heard they weren't great. But I expected that.
Yeah,
I expected a 1 or 2 nil. I really rate Serbia. I think they're a good team. They didn't have Kostic playing. They didn't have a couple of other guys, but they didn't have Vlahovic playing. They brought them both off the bench, so it wasn't their normal starting 11 that they'd start, but it was a bit more of a defensive one. In terms of Brazil, I think in the bigger games, I think they could probably drop. Paqueta and play Guimaraes, or
Yeah,
even depending on the game state, Fred as well, because Fred came off the bench and was quite good. And that can add a bit more energy and tenacity in the midfield as well. So that can give Casemiro a helping hand. But I'll be honest, Casemiro was sensational as well. Like he's
yeah,
one of the best to ever do it in that position that we've ever seen. And last night he was basically there by himself, but the guy is so good, bro. The
yeah,
guy's so good. He sweeps everything up. He makes I think the defense was good as well, but he makes that defense so comfortable
mm,
because they know that if he's not making a tackle, he's making a foul,
yeah,
and that foul is going to relieve that pressure from the defense. So he just does his job so well.
yeah,
And I think if they played in England or France, I think they'd probably play Guimaraes in there, or maybe a Fred, add that extra legs. But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, I was relatively impressed with Neymar. I think he was fairly decent. It wasn't like a coming of age performance in a World Cup by any means, whereas it was for Richarlison. Um,
yeah,
and Rafinha was poor.
yeah. I don't know.
Um,
I would have maybe seen that. I think Anthony. I don't know. I'd probably like to see him instead of Rafinha next
yeah,
game, maybe. But
yeah.
let's see. Coach have
I
his
think they've
favorites.
they've got Switzerland as well, so
Yeah.
it's going to be a similar sort of game to Serbia, a very resilient European team.
Mm,
So they'll probably go with the same sort of team. Maybe um, Rafinha might come out and Anthony might come in. Maybe Sandro might come out for someone. I don't know, but
yeah.
it will be a similar sort of team, I'd imagine, for that game.
Yeah, I can see that as well. And just to round off, is there any players that you either want to see more from or you want to be seeing given more minutes next game? I think it comes to me, I think I want to see more from I guess Argentina's the first team I look at. Messi, I mean, this is his big tournament, man. This is his last tournament.
I thought Messi was good against Saudi Arabia.
You think? Yeah,
Mm.
there's I don't know. I thought it was all right. Um, obviously, I guess you want to see Liao get some more
Yeah, I
game.
want to see Liao. I want to see Liao. I would. Look, I got a lot of stick for people not understanding my take on Foden, and it's. I love Foden as a player. He's a great player.
Yeah,
But people seem to think I'm hating on him and this and that. But it's not that at all. It's a case of styles make teams great, and Sterling on the left. I'm not saying Sterling's a better player than Foden. I don't think he is. I think he offers more to England in terms of his runs in behind. Saka on the right, you can't drop. He's our best 1v1 winger. Foden's not a 1v1 winger. He's someone who's going to come into pockets of space and kind of act like he's like a bridge between 10 and wing. He's not really either.
mm,
Um, and then Mount offers something different to Foden in the 10, and Foden's not played there a lot. So it's not a case of I don't think Foden's a good player. He's a great player. I would maybe like to see a bit more of him in an England shirt. Maybe against Wales, if we've won the USA game, give him a start and give someone like Rashford and Grealish a start as well. And try it out, try these guys out. But I think I want to see more minutes from him, but I want to see him do more in the minutes he gets for England as well. I want to see him really take the game by the scruff of the neck, like how Saka does.
yeah. I know he came on and he looked all right.
Mm.
When it's 4-1, 5-1, like everyone is going to look all right. In all honesty, I'm not trying to take a slight on Foden, but
No, no.
that is the truth. But I agree. When he's given the Foden is technically the best English player, I think. Honestly, I think
Yeah.
he's that good. But just in terms of like, you know, first touch, beating a man, pinging the ball, I think him, probably Harry Kane, they're the two best technical players. But yeah, in terms of for England, it's not Man City, is it? So he's not got
Mm.
KDB, Bernardo Silva. I don't want to say carrying him, but really taking the load in terms of being
It
creative.
makes the game easier.
It makes the game easier, yeah. So as I said, it's styles, profiles make teams really, and Foden's profile is one where, yeah, not 1v1, that like better than Saka, not better outlet than Sterling. So he can't play
Mm.
wings. And then is he gonna be as positionally good as Mount is in the 10? Maybe, to be fair, but he's never really played 10 for City, so it's like
Mm.
And the coach sees him in training as well, man. So like,
I think there's a reason why Pep hasn't played him as a 10.
yeah,
I think with Mount, I'm not his biggest fan, but he's a lot more tenacious and he's a lot more willing to do the work for the team. Whereas I think Foden, as a winger, when you can get them combinations in with the likes of Cancelo, and then you get someone like Bernardo popping over to that side as well, and KDB comes across, and you've got Haaland stretching the play. I think when you've got that dynamic and you've got players who you could have these combination plays with, it makes it easier as a winger because most teams camp on the edge of their box against City,
yeah,
so the combinations count, and that's club football as well. Whereas international football, naturally teams get tired easier. The weather's hot in Qatar. Teams are going to tire, so you need that runner in behind. And Foden's not that guy who's going to stretch that. And for me, he's not a 10. He doesn't have the qualities to play as a 10.
yeah.
Um, so it's an awkward one. I'd like to see more from him if he does play. And as well, I'd probably like to see a bit more from of Trent as well in an England shirt, just to see what he could do.
I was literally just gonna say that. Yeah, I don't know if that's even an unpopular opinion, but like Trent, we know club form. He's not been defensively anyway. He's not been great. I do feel like Trent does get massive. I don't know what it is. He does get massively scrutinized. Yeah,
Yeah.
like when he doesn't have a great game, it's like, wow, Trent didn't have a great game. But I remember the Arsenal game. Trent Martinelli did rip him, but Trent
Mm,
was while Trent was on the pitch, he was still doing things, crossfield
mm,
balls. Like he just progresses the ball so quick. And obviously Trippier been great for Newcastle. I didn't think he was great the other day. I thought he was actually, if I'm honest, I thought he was one of England's poor performers.
I,
But yeah, I feel like I don't know. I feel like Trent's got something to give for England that we ain't seen. He could progress the ball quick, crossfield ball to Sterling or Saka, and we could be in
mm,
against like I don't know. Let's say a game where you're not going to have much of the ball like a Spain. So I don't see him starting, but I don't know. It's weird subbing on a defender, but I wouldn't mind seeing him come on as an impact sub. To be fair,
yeah.
but
Yeah, I agree.
yeah,
Especially if we do, which we are probably going to do at some point, especially if we do use that 3/5. I think him with a little less defensive responsibility, just sort of playing more like a right midfield player where he can do the Beckham sort of stuff where he can switch play and cross and use his delivery. I think that will suit him a lot more. So I do think we will get to. I don't actually know if we will get to see him. I hope we get to see him.
yeah. I don't
Um,
think we will.
no, neither. I think Southgate's gonna be. But he's gonna just do what Southgate does. He has his favourites, fair enough. I can't at the moment. I can't criticize Southgate, and I'm not gonna because why would I? Um,
Exactly. Yeah, he's done well. Score
yeah.
prediction.
What for tonight for England?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
2-1, 2-1 England.
2-1 England. Okay, I'll go 3-0 England. I think
Okay.
it's going to be KG first half, and then Sterling get one. I'll say Sterling first goal scorer on like 40 minutes, and then towards the end of the game, I think maybe Rashford's going to come on and get one,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe Kane. That's what I'm saying.
I think they'll go 1-0,
Yeah.
and they'll do what they did against Wales and sit back.
Mm.
Um, Labed will get his big fat head on it from a corner and score, and then I think in the sort of 65th, 70th minute, Kane will get a penalty, bang that away, and then we'll just keep the ball until the end of the game. But we'll have a
Yeah.
scared game where it could easily we could draw it, but I
Yeah.
think 2-1 with that game start. I definitely think I have a feeling Maguire's scoring today. I have a really big feeling Maguire's scoring today.
He's one of England's biggest goal threats. I heard apparently he was second in terms of goals for England qualifying, which is
Probably
mad. But
7 goals, perhaps, which is crazy for a defender.
yeah, that is crazy. That's crazy. I think he's highest scoring English defender of all time. So
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully he does. Hopefully either of those results would be good. England just needs to
Mm,
get through.
yeah.
And yeah, anything else you want to touch on? Is that all
Um.
good?
Nah. We've got some meaty games today. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. We.
Well, Wales playing at the moment. What's the score in that game?
Let me have a look.
Let's see. I'll look now.
Probably 0-0.
Yeah, Wales Iran. Oh, no, yeah, you're right. Halftime. These early people can't get up for them. I don't know if they're still tired or what, but I don't
It
know.
stinks, man. Some of them games stink.
Some of these games, you're right.
I think Wales and Iran both stink anyway.
Yeah, Iran. Obviously, they got your boy Taremi
Yeah, they got a goal
too,
threat. They've got a
but
goal threat.
yeah, Wales. I don't know. Is that Iran keeper playing as well? What happened with him?
Oh yeah, I don't know if he's
Imagine
playing.
he's back. Imagine.
That was a big miss for them. I felt bad for them and him because he's
Yeah,
probably one of their better players as well from what I've seen.
yeah, I agree. That was quite peak. But yeah, if you've made it to the end of this episode, thank you for watching.
Yeah,
Don't
thank you
forget,
guys.
yeah, we appreciate your support as always. And don't forget to like, share, comment on whatever platform you're watching this on. And yeah, until next time, guys, we'll catch you later. Thank you.
Peace out.